Hi, thanks for stopping by. Today's video comes at the request of a dear friend of mine and as a tribute to a dear friend of mine. You see, just the other day I received a note from a friend that said, it is with heavy heart that I share with you that my husband Russ, a dear friend of mine, has passed. And she went on to give me some details. And so I simply responded by saying, Brenda, let me assure you that Russ is not dead. You know, it's such a human reaction to think in terms of life and death, and not realize that we come to this planet from our true home, and we're here for a reason, and then we simply return home. But that at a spiritual level, we are eternal. We are sacred beings. And so this conversation around death, which is a thought system, and it's a thought system from the ego, that dualistic mindset of life and death and us and them and good and bad and right and wrong, very dualistic, very fear-based. And it's so often that we identify ourselves with this ego thought system, which is actually our false self, and we lose sight of our true self, our capital S self, our holy self. And I shared just this note with Brenda, and then I said that, let me know, please, if there's anything I can do to help. And she responded right away, and she said, John, could you share some words about life and about the eternal nature of life? Because I've got friends that I'd like to share that with that just don't see it that way. So I said, well, of course, I'll do anything I can for you. So this video today comes as a tribute to my friend Russ, who has simply moved on, and that we know when we look into our hearts that he's forever there. I feel the same way about my father, who's passed on, my grandparents, and other close loved ones who have simply transitioned back to home, if you will. I've also had the opportunity over the years to speak at conferences with people who have essentially been clinically dead. Danny and Brinkley, for example, who's written 3 New York Times bestsellers. I read his first book many years ago, Saved by the Light, where Daniel was struck by lightning and was clinically dead for hours, went into the light to hear a story, to be taught something important, to come back to earth, so to speak, and share. And Danny and I have sat on panels together at whole life conferences on health and well-being, spiritual well-being. I was at a conference speaking a couple of years ago with Dr. Eben Alexander, the best-selling author of Proof of Heaven. If you've not heard his story, it's just truly amazing. And I've had 2 near-death experiences myself by the age of 3. So there's a depth here, and I want to just assure you with this short clip that there is no death. It's an illusion, and that we can think differently. And I want you to stop and think about that. If I learn to think differently about life and death, and I realize that we are actually a soul, an eternal soul, who has a temporary physical experience, things change. We have much less to worry about, much less anxiety, much less fear. All right, it's just much more of an adventure. It's exciting. Life is an experiment. But when we think in terms of we're here, we got one shot at it, we spend our whole entire life in a subconscious sense of anxiety and fear and worry and stress. Try thinking differently. Recognize that if you have lost somebody, you really haven't lost them. All right? At the energetic, spiritual level, they're always here. So that's my message for the day. Never doubt that anyone you love, whether it's physically present with you or somewhere else, they're never gone. I'm John Murphy, and thank you, and God bless.